Hey everybody, thanks for being here. This week we're in Idaho, floating the beautiful South Fork of the Snake River for rainbow and Yellowstone cutthroat trout. Brought to you by Corning Ford, Procure, Clackacraft, Yakima Bait, P-Line, Max Lure, Fishfield, Brad's Fishing, Valley Marine, Ole's Fishing Charters, and Fishang Products. Now, if you want to learn how to catch more fish, stay tuned. I'm Justin Wolf, and this is Angler West Television. Winding through eastern Idaho, the South Fork of the Snake River is trout angling paradise, especially for fly anglers using drift boats. A vast majority of the boats used on this river are Clackacrafts, which are made in Oregon, so they have to get here somehow. It's an hour before daybreak, and we're loaded up with boats heading to the Clackacraft sales facility in Idaho Falls. Every 2 to 3 weeks, year-round, owner Bruce Bells makes the 700-mile trip, stopping for fuel 4 or 5 times, to the Clackacraft sales office in Idaho Falls, which is a short drive from many of the best fly fishing rivers in the world, including the South Fork of the Snake. It's no wonder that there's such a high demand for high-quality drift boats in this region. Today we're headed to the South Fork with Matt Kelly and John Stenerson, who both manage the Clackacraft sales office.
Today we're headed up to do a little float on the South Fork of the Snake River. We're going to go run from the Spring Creek Bridge down to Conan. There's a lot of water around the greater Yellowstone region to fish, but this time of year, I like fishing the South Fork, but we've also got the Henry's Fork, we've got the Teton River, we've got the Fall River, Madison's not too far away. The South Fork is kind of the crown jewel this time of year. So I'm a big fan of casting kind of 90 degrees or so, maybe even slightly upstream, and letting that streamer swim down, trying to imitate a bait fish in distress. So yeah, we got a little flashback there on a little olive, but haven't seen anything since then. So we're gonna switch it up, and John's gonna get up front here. And what you got tied on there, Ganga?
Yeah, the yellow Ganga swimmer. So we're gonna see if they'll chase that, and if not, we're gonna swap. We got a whole arsenal of bugs we're gonna give them a shot at to see what they'll chase this morning.
So in the South Fork, this is kind of one of the last remaining Yellowstone cutthroat trout strongholds. So I'm a big fan of the cutties because they're aggressive and they'll readily eat a dry fly, but they'll eat a stream or two. And then there's brown trout and there's rainbow trout. The rainbows are kind of hybridizing with the cutthroats. So it's catch and release on cutthroats in this fishery, but they encourage the harvest of rainbows to try to preserve the genetic line of the Yellowstone cutthroat. Yeah, there's also fine spot cutthroat in here too.
What I'm trying to do here is just cover these big flats with a big sweeping swing across them, and just trying to keep a tight line with a little bit of a twitch and a jig, just so that we're trying to cover a lot more water and cover it fairly fast. You're hoping that you might have an aggressive fish setting out here on one of these flats. It'll chase it down and eat it. So it's a long cast into the bank, kind of a downstream end here, and then coming across this flat with a little bit of speed. They're not very deep. It's only maybe 2 feet deep, so you got to come fairly quick with these sinking lines, or else you'll be on the bottom. But like I say, they like to come up and sit on these flats, so we're hoping we'll find one on it.
A lot of times early in the season when the salmon flies and the golden stones are hatching, we're fishing flies tight to the bank. Like if you're 3 inches off, you're too far. But now this time of year, there's kind of more things going on. Food sources distributed a little more throughout the river. So right now we're working these flats. John's throwing it in tight to the bank and then swinging it down, seeing if we can find something that's cruising out on these cobble flats. Also where you've got some speed and some depth and some structure in tight to the bank can be good holding water.
Welcome back to the South Fork of the Snake River. I'm Justin Wolf. We're with Matt Kelly and John Stenerson, who face a river with falling water levels full of wary and hesitant trout. It's said that when the cows are laying down, the bite is off. which may be true, but with persistence and good technique, we'll get our first fish, a whitefish. Not a target species, but a good sign that we're on our way to figuring out the bite, which has definitely something to do with the falling water levels.
So the flows on the river today, they're down to like 7,900. Yesterday at this same time they were at 8,500. So we've had a little bit of a drop. About 15 miles up the river is the Palisades Dam, and then they'll move this water all the way down into what's called American Falls Reservoir, and basically the rest of the way down. And so right now they're just moving water from basically Palisades to American Falls, watering spuds and doing stuff like that, taking care of they're cutting grain, so it's mostly just watering spuds and getting fields prepped for fall with water. The South Fork will continually drop, and it'll drop it down to where almost they run down to about 1,000 CFS during winter flows to fill up the reservoir. So it's an interesting river because you go from spring runoff of 20,000 and then just kind of tapered all the way down. During the summer, this summer, they ran it at like 12,000 all summer. So it's a big river. It flows really fast compared to most rivers. And a lot of diversity. You can see we've got back eddies, we've got riffles, we got grassy banks. And so it's really unique in that type of a fishery. And that you can fish dry flies, streamers, nymphs, whatever you want during the day.
So in here, we're just holding about 20 feet off the bank. Keeping the boat slow so that John can work this fast structure in tight. See if we can't find anybody home. So here I'm holding the boat a little further off the bank to give John a little more opportunity to cover more of this flat. Today we're rowing a 16 LP, and generally we pair a 9-foot oar with the low side boats. Today we're rowing a pair of the Cataract Streamlights, which is a lighter version of their composite SSG. It's got a shoal cut style. Cutthroat is what they call it, the Cutthroat blade. The idea behind a shoal cut blade is that it allows you to get dig in shallow water a little better, but also plenty of surface area when you're rowing bigger water like this.
So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the little nocturnal stone. And see, it doesn't have a wing case, so that's why he can't fly. So when you put him on the water, see how he wiggles and just skitters along? And so that's what we're trying to imitate when we fish the dry flies, that little bug just skittering along. Okay, we're just gonna switch back in and try to go fish some of these flats again with the bigger dry fly, that little mutant stone that we talked about. There's some pretty good fish sitting down here at the bottom end of this eating, and we may switch over and fish the blue wing. There's some, Rick just had an eat there. So what we did is come across, but if you'll watch, you can see some fish sitting down here on these flats now. So we may drop an anchor here and try to fish these guys, but you'll see some fish on that eating. I've seen a couple there's a pretty good fish sitting down in there a little further in there eating dry flies. There we go. Cutthroat.
Oh, sorry. He was just a little guy.
That was a cutthroat.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
Petty.
Snake River cutthroat.
Another one just popped in that same spot.
Yeah. Average on here is probably, I would say, 14 to 16. Maybe a little bit bigger now because you can't keep them on here. But those big fish right now, they're probably not as hungry. They've been fished to a lot all year. They got pretty smart, but there's quite a few nice fish sitting in here. So I think I looked the other day during like they have this company's called the One Fly on the River, and I looked to see kind of there's a really nice fish way down in there eating that. And I think the average fish was like 16 inches during that hole. And I think there was 300 some fish caught in the whole thing. There might be more than that, I'm just guessing. Yeah, so what we've done is we went through the streamer gamut this morning, and we've tried the nocturnals. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go like a dry dropper system. So we're gonna fish the nocturnal, then we're gonna fish like a little beta nymph underneath of it, and Matt's fishing a little ant pattern. We're just trying to see if there's something else out there that they would eat. This, you know, we're getting into the noontime, so the sun's getting brighter, so we're going to try to do a little bit more like dry droppers and try to fish these flats again, and hopefully they'll eat the little or smaller nymphs like the beta nymphs and things like that.
It's midday on the South Fork, and with the high sun and clear water, Matt and John from Clackacraft have scaled down from large streamers to smaller dry flies and nymphs under an indicator, which is paying off with strikes from beautiful rainbows and native cutthroats.
The rainbow.
A little rainbow. Called a Duracell. It's just called a little Duracell. I tie them myself. They're super easy to tie. Basically, it's a little dubbing, some CDC feathers, and a gold or a bronze bead or copper bead. So now what we're doing is we're sitting in this back eddy, and you can see it's a big swirl with a dead spot, and we're covering all kinds of water trying to fish this. And so the advantage of these boats is, one, is how stable they are. Like, I can basically sit on this flat. I've got current going that way, I've got current going this way, and I can just sit here, and just by little bitty taps of the oar, I can just sit in one spot. And that's why they're so popular for the fly fishing side of it, especially here in Idaho, and I mean everywhere. Obviously, we sell these things all over the country. You name it, pretty much every state, there's someone dry fly fishing or fishing out of it, fly fishing. We're selling these boats to them, and that's one of the big features, is that how stable they are. One, you can move all over the place, and two, I can just sit in these little back eddies for hours, and then pretty soon we'll just roll right out and go right and down through it. So it handles all kinds of the different water, and being able to just to set with little bitty strokes and handle it. And then if you have to row hard to really slow down and to get lots of shots at a bank, they have the design of the boat with the tunnel hull and the Gulfstream bottoms that allows you to break that surface tension and push those boats up. And we kind of lift them up on plane when you're pulling really hard. But what's cool with these guys, with the Gulfstream bottom, instead of getting pull all the way through it, it disperses that weight, pushes the water different ways, and so you never get like the suction, so to speak. It keeps the boat on really nimble and on top of the water. And you can tell when you pull really hard in certain pieces of water, you see me just about the end of your fly line. They'll really start to back off and come up on the plane. And the one thing that we have is our eddy, which is our #1 selling boat. It is really super nimble. It has the ability to crab crawl, which we can talk about. It's a stroke where you change the angle, and it's really popular, especially on rivers where you got to do a lot of back rowing and a lot of rowing around things and through things. Like the guys on the Green River love it. Guys over on Casper love it, because they do a lot of micro adjustments, and where you're just barely moving the boat left or right, just barely moving it. And so that's really popular. The eddy, or the LP that we're in today, is more of a straight line boat. So when we're trying to cross, so I'm going to do a little crab crawl here, and we're going to work our way across this little flat. And this is a crab stroke where I'm just slowly stroking, and we're going to work out into the current without having to turn the boat a lot. That way Matt can continue to fish this top of this flat. On this river, the guides like LPs just because it's a fast current river, and they drop their oars a lot, and so when they drop the oars, the boat will stay tracking straight. But I would still say that if we were to talk about it, I would bet you that it's probably still a 50-50 on this river, eddies and LPs. They're both really good boats, just depending on the guide and how they like to row. But we've always had the laughing joke, like if we put a blindfold on them, they probably couldn't tell us the difference between the boats. But it's kind of like fly rods or oars or anything. Until you put a blindfold on, they may not be able to tell you anything about it. But everybody has a preference. We all know that.
So John's doing a spay cast swinging this Renegade here. Yeah, it's a nice effective way to make a cast when you don't have a lot of room behind you for your back cast, since we've got all these trees back here. Oh, that was on you. They're getting in there.
Oh, make the old Hardy sing. There we go. Oh, the rainbow. Oh, birdie. Almost away. Renegade caught in the cheek there.
We're going back to the South Fork of the Snake River, but first, here's your fish field tackle connection. Now today, Matt and John started fishing subsurface with nymphs under an indicator. Now if you want to see one of the most advanced indicators made, go to fishfield.com and check out the airlock centerlock strike indicators. These things are amazing. They will adhere to even the finest leaders. You really have to see this design. Go to fishfield.com and check out the whole variety of colors and sizes, but also what makes them so unique and special. If you're really into fly fishing, you really want to try the airlock centerlock strike indicators. Now, we're going back to the South Fork of the Snake, but first let's stop in the manufacturing facility in Clackamas, Oregon, where Clackacraft boats are made, to see for ourselves a little bit how these awesome boats are born.
This is a Big Eddie's actually sitting in the mold. It's going to get pulled tomorrow. It's currently getting cured. You can see this is just the hull. This is one of about 9 to 10 parts on this boat that will be assembled together. We've got the 18 Max so that I can show you kind of the parts going in, but basically the hull is one part, and then we'll start adding our nose pieces, bench pieces, floors, different pieces. They get kind of sewn together with the material. So again, 16-foot Big Eddie, kind of cool to see it. You can see there's 2 hooks in here. Tomorrow the guys will go ahead and hook the front and back. Forklift will pop it out. Some of these molds I think still have some air fittings where they actually put air to it to get that crack, that seal to release. I don't think that has to happen with this particular one, but kind of cool to see it. This is a boat. This is a full-on boat right now. If I had a bucket in here, not that I would do that, I could row it down the river. 16 Eddie right here, just being born. So you can see right here, they're grinding the parts. They have excess on them. You can see all the different parts laying back here. He's cleaning up the braces right now, trimming them back a little bit, sanding them, getting all the rough edges off of them. Just kind of completing the part, so they'll be ready to be installed into the boat. Here we got a 15-foot headhunter skiff. Just got born. Just everything's done. Pretty much all the parts are in. Kieran needs to finish up the lap. That's a brace you saw for it. I clean it up to go to the next rigging facility to get the hardware and all the latches, hatches, those pieces, oarlocks put in it. Still got the paper on the boat to protect it from any overspray when they got the interior sprayed. Another one of our popular low-sided boats, the 15-foot headhunter skiff. So kind of cool to see it in state. Again, it'll take another day or so at the shop to get the hardware, all the latches and all the fun stuff. The customer, it might be a customer boat. Maybe they got some other options. Again, like the motor mounts and anchor nets they put on, but pretty cool to see it like this. This is the gel coat room. Gel coat's the pretty surface you see on the outside of the parts. You can use these boats with no gel coat on them, but obviously you print them up, make people's different colors, characters, fun stuff. A lot of maintenance here. A lot of work to keep these things up to speed. This is the parts stable. All the parts you can imagine. Other ones are probably back at my warehouse, stored away, the older parts, but basically box lids. And then there's a lot of stuff that goes in these boats. Different size boxes for different model boats. 18's got a bigger box. Eddie's got a smaller box. Got a rear box. A lot, you can see there's a lot to this stuff. And a lot of time, effort, and thought gone into this stuff. And we're always trying to change still to this day, but you kind of got to find that even medium, where you're building stuff and building it right, not just throwing it out there and having problems with it. So that's why we've had a good name in the industry, because we build good quality stuff here. All right, here's the stable of molds. We got the 18 Max, we got the 16 Standard, 17 Magnum Power Drifter right over there. A couple other molds were sitting inside, you saw them earlier. But basically, these are the molds that we use for making drift boats born. The mold graveyard right here, you can see it. Basically, if it ain't here, it's been chopped up in drift boat heaven.
When we get a call on the phone or when we get an opportunity to talk to somebody, pretty much the first question we always ask is, what river are you going to be using this boat on? And from that will give us an avenue to where, what rivers. So we have, Matt and I both been with this company over 20 years, and so we have vast knowledge of pretty much every river in the United States and what we've sold on those rivers. We've tried to fish most of those rivers. And the ability for us is that we start a conversation with, okay, what's your rowing experience and what river are you going to use it on? And so when we get those two questions answered, what's your rowing experience and what river you're going to be fishing, then from there we can start suggesting boats and what we sell and what other guys are doing. Obviously we have pro staff on rivers that are, and so their feedback comes back to us. Like we've got a pro staff in Tennessee, Patrick Fulcrot, he's incredible. We've got pro staff guys in Montana, Tim Linehan, Kelly Gallup. There's a bunch of these guys around here, and they give us feedback and then of what they like. And so then what we're able to do is tell customers, this is what we sell out there, this is what we sell. So Tennessee, we sell a lot of eddies, and so you get a guy on the phone, we're like, okay, we sell eddies, it's our number one selling boat. What would you like to drive? Do you want to fish? How many people are you going to have in the boat? So if they say, well, we're going to be 2 anglers and me for a guide, then we'll walk through that program. If it's a brand new person buying a boat, a lot of times we'll talk to them about how many anglers, rowing experience, what they want in features, and let them do. A lot of it is just giving them the information and following up with them and talking them through everything.
Nice way to close the day strong.
Hey, I hope you found today's episode valuable and it helps you catch more fish. And be sure to watch this episode again, plus hundreds of other episodes on the Angler West TV YouTube channel. Plus, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, without our sponsors, there is no show, so please thank them when you can. Now, get out there and do some great fishing.